Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Beasts of the... Oh wait, nope, that's not Beasts of the Mesozoic, that's Beasts of the Cenozoic, as we have our very first entry into the Beasts of the Cenozoic line. This is the Smilodon, and as you can see, it looks super cool as far as the packaging and everything. We also can see that this is actually in 1/12 scale, which is a scale that I don't know that we've seen previously in the Creative Beast Studio line. I remember, quite a few different scales in like the Raptor series, Ceratopsians, Tyrannosaur series, and beyond, but never 1/12 scale, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong. But you can see the packaging looks pretty nice. You've got that nice window area there where you can get kind of a sneak peek of the Smilodon, and then of course some fantastic artwork over here on the side as always. If we turn it to the side, you've got a nice shot there again of the Beasts of the Cenozoic logo and the, again, species name and scale. And then here on the back, you've got again another really nice shot of the figure itself, as well as some information on the species and the figure. And then down here, basically like an advertisement for some of the other figures that are out with this newest round of Creative Beast Studio figures. So let's pop this box open and check out our very first prehistoric mammal to hit the Creative Beast Studios Beasts of line. So included within, you've got the instructions here basically to show you how you can swap out the different paws and neck fur and everything like that, and again, switch up the appearance of your Smilodon. We as well as always have a card included. I love the addition of these cards. I think they're just like the perfect little accessory to these sets, and you can see the artwork as always is incredible there, nicely portraying our Smilodon in a wooded setting. And then if you turn it around, you've got a little bit of like, some, I guess not in this case, dino toy photography, but you've got some photography nonetheless, and then again some more information on the species and everything down under. On top of that, we also have some alternate pieces that you can use, as you can see, and just like I had shown you a moment ago on that little slip of paper, you have different paws that you can use for the Smilodon, as well as a different piece of fur for the neck. Let me see if I can actually pull this off. There we go, without throwing everything. It'll give us a better chance to actually look at it. You can see the different paws that you have available. You can also see the other piece of fur that you could put on the back of the neck, and then again, 2 more paws over here. And often I don't really mess with the different feet or anything for like the dinosaurs, but I'm probably going to pull out the paws for the Smilodon and take a look at those at some point soon, because it is a bit different from what we usually look at. Usually with the dinosaurs, if you've gone over them once, you've gone over them a million times, but when it comes to something like this, something we've never had before, we should probably look a little more into it. And then, of course, we have the Smilodon itself, and as you can see, it looks gorgeous, just as I expected, like, without a doubt, one of the best Smilodon that I have seen. Originally, I wasn't even going to pick this guy up. I really wanted to wait it out for the other color variant of this, I think it is the Cyberzoic version of the Smilodon, if I remember correctly. I was really just going to wait for that one because I preferred the color scheme of the other one, but, as I saw this one, it's another one of those instances where the figure really started to grow on me, and having it here, I think it actually looks really nice. There is also, on top of everything, an alternate head where you can see the inside of the mouth a whole lot better, and man, is that ever impressive. But, again, that looks really cool as well. So, we've got everything now unpackaged here. Let's go ahead, we'll jump to a closer look, and we'll check this out a little more thoroughly. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Smilodon, you can see it looks really quite nice. There is definitely some very impressive fur detail, quite a bit of variation to the fur as well, especially when you look up here in the snout and getting closer to the nose and everything. You can see it's really, really fine fur detail, but as you move back here under the eye, you can see it pick up a little bit in size, and then obviously gets a whole lot more kind of scruffy and more impressive as you lead back even further. But as you move out here, you can see, of course, those saber teeth for our Smilodon. They look really nice. They're painted with kind of like a mixture of like an off-white and kind of like a brownish tone, sort of, kind of giving it the look of like a light yellowish tone. But as I leave the light hit it, you can really see how nice and realistic the shine is on the teeth, which is really nice. As you can see here, you've got the nose painted with a purplish tone. We also have the nostrils highlighted with a darker tone. And there is some very nice variation of color as you have some light grays that show up basically through the course of the entire figure in different areas, but you can see it in the snout and on the lower jaw right there. We do actually have an articulated jaw, which can open really, really wide, which is pretty impressive, but I didn't expect it to open that wide. But you can see the tongue and everything on the inside of the mouth looks extremely realistic. I love the variation of color they've applied in there. We've got a nice pinkish tone and what appears to be like a reddish wash over that, and then of course that nice gloss coat to give it the saliva-like look. It looks extremely real. You can see the teeth on the lower jaw as well, sculpted nicely, painted just like we see with the saber teeth up here on the top. And if you look at the inside of the mouth, you can see again the detailing and paintwork is absolutely fantastic up there, and you can see the smaller teeth there moving along the front of the inside of the mouth as well. Everything in there looks really good, and that jaw works pretty darn nicely. Again, you can basically get it open to different distances pretty much perfectly. As you move up, you can see the eyes are painted very nicely with a mixture of what appears to be like a reddish tone, some yellows and a black, and again, an absolutely picture perfect gloss coat right there. As you begin to move back, again, as I mentioned, you can see some more impressive fur, and as you can see, again, the fur detail is exceptionally vibrant. Like, it really, really pops on the sculpt, and they've done a good job of highlighting a lot of the different areas of fur with light dry brushing. If you move up here, you can see again a nice light gray dry brushing highlighting this very impressive display of fur up here on the back of the neck. There is a seam right here which you can see, and that is because this actually disconnects, which if I pull that off, there you go, you can see it disconnects to put the other piece of fur on that we saw at the earlier part of the review. And as you can see, that pops back on really easily, but we will put the other piece on here in just a little bit. But you can see the ears are sculpted nicely. Again, more of that grayish dry brushing inside of the ears. You've got more impressive fur detail up here on the top of the head as well. Now you do have an articulated joint right here, which can go left and right. If you look at it from up above, you've definitely got some nice mobility right there. It can go up and down as well, which is nice to help give it a little bit of extra, posability. And as you can see, you can kind of tilt it as well. You've got another joint right here in the neck, but it's not really doing a whole lot. Like, it moves a little bit, but I'm not really getting much in the way of movement in that spot. I don't know how much movement is available in that area. I remember I did watch the Creative Beast Studio review of this, basically where they were kind of promoting the figure on their YouTube channel, and I don't think there was a whole lot of range of movement going on when they articulated it either. So I may at some point later on after the review's over, maybe I'll try to kind of warm it up just to see if maybe I can get it moving a little bit better. But as of right now, there's not really a whole lot. Like, I can feel like it almost sort of swivels slightly. Obviously, it's not really going to swivel because of the positioning of the body and the way that that connects in there wouldn't allow that. But it does seem like it moves a little bit, but I'm not getting much at all as far as the movement in that area. But as you move back, you can see the musculature is very impressive, especially leading down here into the front leg. You could just see the tensing of the muscles and everything is extremely, extremely impressive as you lead down. And just like I was seeing up there in the head, you got different variation here to the fur. Like, you've got finer fur here, a little bit of scruffier fur here on the front of the leg. You've got a little bit of extra fur leading off of the back of the elbow, and again, more fine fur leading down. We continue to see the musculature moving down through the course of the foot down here, down through the course of the leg down into the foot. And as you lead down, you can see the toes are sculpted nicely. We have more of that grayish dry brushing down here, and as you can see also, the nails are painted really nicely with a kind of like a black, but there's also like some pink kind of fleshy areas right there that you can see where the nails connect, which is pretty cool. But again, as far as the articulation goes, you have the ability to articulate the legs forward and back really nicely. They don't really move out away from the body too much, just a little hair of movement out that way. Then you've got the elbow, of course, forward and back, and then you've got another spot right here which can go forward and back. It's a little stiff right now, and then another one right here. You can see the joint right there. There we go. So we've got that moving as well a little bit. So that definitely helps to create some really nice posability and nice flexibility in the legs, which is really good. As we move back into the stomach, you can see again the fur is so nicely highlighted here with the light dry brushing that they've applied. And even up here in the more black areas, you can still see a very, very light dry brushing that has been applied to make sure that it just stands out so nicely when it comes to the actual detailing aspect. And you can also see again how unbelievably vibrant the fur detail is. You know, when it comes to Smilodon figures, this has some of the most vibrant detail I've seen. You also have another area of articulation right here, which you can very clearly see, which actually is really impressive. As you can see, it can move up pretty high and then down, so that definitely helps to create even more posability with the figure, which you can see from up above. Again, definitely helping to give you a good bit of range of movement for the Smilodon. As you move back, you can see again some more scruffy fur here on the underside, more of that dry brushing down there. And then as you lead up here into the back of the Smilodon, you see super fine fur, but still some more of that very, very light dry brushing. As you lead down, you've got a very impressive thigh back here, which again is sporting some nice muscle definition, as well as again some scruffier fur leading off of the back of the thigh, which you can see again highlighted with that grayish dry brushing. And then you lead down, you actually have almost like a striping effect of some of those grays moving down through the calf. And then we lead down again into the foot sculpt. We've got the pinks running along the nails, the toes sculpted nicely, the nice glossy blacks for the nails themselves. Articulation wise here, you can again move the leg forward and back. You actually get that back pretty far, which is pretty cool. And then again, you also have the knee, which I'm very worried is going to be stiff. Yeah, I'm not really getting anything going on with it. So it can very clearly articulate. You can see the joint, but it's just like so stiff. It's another one of those joints where I'm probably going to have to warm it up. The problem with reviewing these straight out of the box is it doesn't give you any time to really warm the joints up, start to, you know, kind of break them in or anything like that, which in turn causes a lot of the articulation to be a little bit stiff. And then you've got another spot right here, which that spot is moving pretty nicely. My camera's losing focus, but you can see that's moving nicely. And that does actually swivel. You can move the legs out like that. And then again, another spot down here, just like we saw on the front legs. So a good bit of articulation through the course of the rear legs as well. And then you also have the ability to articulate the tail, which is really cool. As you can see, it can come out away from the body. It can also swivel, so nice articulation for that little area. And obviously you can see some nice fur detail out there on the tail, even more dry brushing moving along the underside. And then once you turn it around, of course it's going to look pretty much the same from both sides. Definitely an absolutely gorgeous Smilodon. I actually didn't even notice the striping on the front leg. You can see that light gray striping moving down through the course of the lower part of the front leg as well. But that is definitely one of the most beautiful Smilodon I have ever seen. And then we also have the alternate head. Now this head doesn't sport any articulation. As you can see, it's basically just stuck in this open mouth visual here, which shows off the inside of the mouth a whole lot better, and that's obviously the appealing factor of this alternate head. You've got a nice shot of the tongue, and I love the like fold in the tongue right there, like that slight bend as you move down. And obviously the paintwork is incredibly impressive on this head of the Smilodon. You've got the teeth and everything painted quite nicely on both the upper and lower jaws. They're a lot more visible when it comes to the teeth on the upper jaw here than it was on the original head. And again, the saber teeth look great. There's a nice brownish wash that's been included in there. And then, of course, everything else looks really good for the Smilodon as well. Looks super lifelike in every area. Definitely a very cool addition to this set. I will say you can see the seams for the ears. I did notice that actually on the first version, you know, the first head we were taking a look at as well. So just something to make note of. But when it comes to an articulated figure, seams really aren't a big issue because, you know, the articulation causes seams to be everywhere. But the paintwork of the inside of the mouth of the more open mouth version of the head is absolutely spectacular. And just like usual when it comes to these figures and stuff, you know, like we can obviously see there is a replacement head. You just have to work that version of the head off. There we go. We popped it off. You can see that ball joint in there. And then you're just going to have to pop this one on, which shouldn't be too hard. Maybe warming it up would have been a good idea, but as you can see, you then have this incredible visual. I don't have it on perfectly, but you have the incredible visual of the Smilodon now, obviously letting out quite the vocalization, or just in general coming in for a kill. I'm not too sure what its intention is at that point. Pop this one back on here. There we go. We've got that head back on. Let's go ahead and reposition the legs in a little bit more of a better way. And then I'm actually going to grab these other paws and stuff and bring them in. So obviously we have the nails extended on the feet that are on the Smilodon currently, but these feet here have the nails more relaxed, more kind of retracted. So that's the appeal factor for the opposite paws that are included in here. And then you also again have this section of fur to put on the back of the neck of the Smilodon if you would prefer to have it, and I have it the wrong direction, if you'd prefer to have it more, you know, fine when it comes to the appearance of the Smilodon. You can see what it looks like basically with that fur. And again, it just has a whole lot more of like a calm appearance with that fur on it. As far as a size goes for the Smilodon, for a length from the snout to the tail, about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters. And then for a height, in the position it's currently in, to the back of the neck, probably the highest point, about 4 inches or just a little hair, a little over 4 inches or a little tiny bit over 10 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collectae human being next to our Beasts of the Cenozoic Smilodon, and you can see it does have a pretty darn nice size to it. It's not gigantic by any means, but it is very nicely sized overall. When it comes to a comparison with another Smilodon, you can see the Rebor Smilodon is obviously a whole lot larger than our Beasts of the Cenozoic version, but the Beasts of the Cenozoic version is also a whole lot more accurate as far as I'm aware. Now, when it comes to comparisons with other Smilodon out there, most I feel like at this point are going to end up being a little bit smaller than our Beasts of the Cenozoic version. Here we have a Papo Smilodon, which you can see very clearly is smaller. I think the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head that would rival this one, actually would be a little bit bigger, would be the Recur version, but that's not a Smilodon I feel like all that many people have, so not really one that would be good to bring in for a comparison. But here is the TNG Smilodon, a more recent version of this, and I know this guy's been pretty popular, so one that I felt like would be a good one to bring in to, again, further help give you an idea of the size of the Beasts of the Cenozoic version. And when it comes to articulated Smilodon, there aren't all that many out there, so here is the Primeval version, which obviously is a good bit smaller than our Beasts of the Cenozoic version. We do also have the Memory Museum Smilodon as well, which obviously, again, is a bit smaller than the Beasts of the Cenozoic version. And then when it comes to some Beasts of the Mesozoic comparisons, we have the Dilophosaurus that released with this Smilodon, showing you that these as well, again, are a bit different when it comes to the size. But honestly, I feel like the best comparison I can give you when it comes to a Beasts of the Mesozoic comparison would be the Zuniceratops, which you can see is just a little bit smaller than our Smilodon, but they're kind of similar in size, very different as far as like the proportions and shape of the animals and everything, but kind of similar in size, with the Smilodon being just a little bit bigger. So this brand new Beasts of the Cenozoic Smilodon is really, really cool. Honestly, it's definitely one of the coolest figures in this new wave, which is surprising because it's probably the one figure I don't know if I'd say least anticipating, but I think the one I was least anticipating would be the albino Zuniceratops. Even though I am kind of excited for it, I definitely do want to pick it up at some point soon. But, you know, it is a re-release of the previous version with a new paint scheme, so it's not like it's a new species. But when it comes to the new species, I feel like this one was my least anticipated, just because I was kind of more so looking forward to the other color variant that's coming out a little bit more than this one. But now actually having this one in hand, I can say it's actually so much nicer than I was expecting, which is a pleasant surprise and may be the nicest figure of the new batch overall, which is pretty impressive to say because I really loved that Dilophosaurus. But this Smilodon is just gorgeous in every way. The sculpt is extremely highly detailed. The detail itself is very vibrant. It's very impressive on the sculpt. Of course, there is tons and tons of fine detail. You can very clearly see that a lot of time was spent sculpting this one out to give it an extremely highly detailed look, but the way that the detail actually pops on the sculpt itself is really, really impressive. By far some of the best fur detail I've seen on a prehistoric mammal figure. On top of that, the paintwork, again, maybe not the flashiest, most appealing color scheme for a Smilodon, does actually look really good, and even better in person than I expected. You know, when you look at a lot of the prototype images, it just kind of looks like it's almost an unpainted figure because it doesn't look like there's a lot going on with it. When it comes to the color, it basically just looks black. But when you do have it in person and you actually get it up nice and close and look at it, you can see there's so much more to it than that. There's a lot of really nice variation of different dry brushing and different slight tones of color that have been added to this to actually make it look very lifelike and realistic and very impressive, that I think maybe just doesn't translate so well in the original prototype images, but in person it's very, very well done. The articulation also works great through the course of the entire figure. The only area I'm having some trouble with is the articulation in the neck. I don't really know if there's supposed to be more than I'm getting out of it, but outside of that, the articulation works really nicely. The articulated jaw as well works nicely, but you do also have the alternate head you can put on to give it a way cooler, way more menacing look. And then, of course, the alternate paws as well as the different fur you can put on the back of the neck. Equaling by far one of the coolest beasts of figures that we've had so far. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to where you can grab this, again, from the Beasts of the Mesozoic website. So make sure you do that, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.